For thousands of years, people have lived as hunters and gatherers, moving with the rhythms of the land and the turning of the seasons. Their days were shaped by the search for food, their survival tied to a deep understanding of forests, plains, and rivers. In small bands, they tracked wild game, gathered fruits and roots, and forged a timeless connection with the natural world, a way of life that endured for countless generations. But this time is different. In the early decades of the 20th century, as archaeology was still defining its modern discipline, one woman stepped into the caves and canyons of the Levant and changed our understanding of humanity's deep past. Her name was Dr. Dorothy Garrod, a pioneering archaeologist whose discoveries would open an entirely new chapter in prehistory. Garrod arrived in the hills of northern Israel in the 1920s, drawn of ancient caves carved into limestone cliffs. It was here that Garrod uncovered something extraordinary. Layer by layer, she revealed evidence of a prehistoric people, unlike any discovered before. Communities who lived at the very threshold between nomadic hunting and settled life. Garrod named this newly identified culture the Natufians, after the nearby Wadi Natuf, a seasonal stream. In 12,000 years, long before the first cities rose from desert plains or the earliest kings claimed their thrones, a quiet cultural revolution was unfolding in the Levant. Here, between the Mediterranean coast and the highlands of the Near East, a people known as the Natufians began shaping a way of life that would alter the course of human history. The world they inhabited was lush and changing. Oak and pistachio forests stretched across rolling hills, streams carved through fertile valleys where wild barley and wheat grew in abundance. Herds of gazelle moved like shadows across the landscape, providing both food and materials for tools. In this environment, rich yet unpredictable, the Natufians crafted a lifestyle unlike anything seen before. For countless generations, humans had lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers, moving with the seasons and the migrations of animals. But the Natufians did something extraordinary. They began to stay. They built semi-permanent homes, circular stone dwellings set into the earth, clustered together in small but stable communities. These were the seeds of early villages, places where families returned year after year, where memories lingered, and where new ideas could take root. Life in a Natufian settlement was a blend of tradition and innovation. Men and women ventured into the surrounding forests to gather nuts, berries, and fruits. Skilled hunters tracked gazelle and other game. Yet the Natufians were also experimenting with something new, harvesting wild cereals on a scale never seen before. They crafted flint sickle blades with glossy, worn edges, evidence of repeated use in cutting stands of wild wheat and barley. They ground these grains on heavy stone mortars and pestles, producing flour that could be stored, shared, and consumed in new ways. Their tools reveal their ingenuity. Delicate microliths hafted into wooden handles, finely shaped bone implements, and personal ornaments carved with care. Many Natufians adorned themselves with necklaces of marine shells, transported from the distant Mediterranean coast, and beads shaped from bone and stone. These decorations speak of identity, social bonds, and perhaps the earliest hints of status within the community. But it is in their burial practices that we see the depth of Natufian culture. The dead were often interred within or beside the homes of the living, wrapped with intention, sometimes accompanied by shell jewelry or carved objects. Dogs, newly domesticated, were occasionally buried with humans, an early sign of the powerful relationship that would come to define human-animal companionship for millennia. These burials offer a window into Natufian beliefs, suggesting reverence, ritual, and a sense of continuity between generations. After millennia of slow thawing at the end of the Ice Age, the planet suddenly plunged back into cold. The Younger Dryas, a brief, violent interruption in Earth's climate, swept across the northern hemisphere. Temperatures dropped sharply, rainfall patterns faltered, and once stable ecosystems unraveled almost overnight in geological time. In the highlands of Europe, glaciers surged forward again. Across great grasslands, forests retreated, and tundra returned. But nowhere did this abrupt shift carve a more profound mark on human history than in the Levant, home of the Natufians. Rainfall dwindled, grasses withered. The once lush woodland belt shrank, pulling life with it. The Natufians saw wild cereals fail on slopes that had sustained their villages for generations. Gazelle herds shifted, following new routes into cooler, wetter zones. What had been a stable homeland suddenly felt fragile. Faced with scarcity, the Natufians adapted, or they moved. Some communities abandoned their long-lived settlements and dispersed across a wider landscape. Groups once anchored to a few fertile valleys ranged deeper into the steppe, traveling farther to gather food. Others clustered near dwindling water sources, rebuilding smaller camps, more temporary than before. Yet hardship also sparked innovation. In several regions, the Natufians began to tend the land more intensively, clearing patches, planting gathered seeds, and protecting promising stands of wild grain. Grinding stones became more common. Sickles saw heavier use. Out of necessity, the foundations of agriculture quietly took shape. The Younger Dryas reshaped the Natufian world, and in doing so, reshaped the future. As the cold period ended and the climate warmed again, the descendants of these resilient communities carried forward the knowledge forged in crisis. Their experiments with cultivation grew into the first true farming villages of the pre-pottery Neolithic, setting humanity on a new trajectory. From disruption came transformation, from scarcity, invention, and from the struggle of the Natufians during the Younger Dryas emerged one of the most important turning points in human history, the dawn of agriculture and the beginning of civilization as we know it. The Natufians did not know it, but they were standing at the threshold of a new era. Their villages, tools, and traditions opened the door to the Neolithic revolution, the moment when humanity began to shape the land, to grow food, to build permanent settlements, and to set in motion the long journey towards civilization. Today, the stones of their ancient homes lie quiet beneath the Levantine soil, surrounded by the same hills, forests, and winds that once shaped their lives. But their legacy endures in every planted field, every settled community, and every society built on the idea that people, working together in one place, could build something lasting. The Natufians may not have left monuments or written words, but they gave the world something far greater, the first steps toward the life we know today. If you learned something from this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.